Just a couple of quick mini reviews about a couple of films that are both saying, we're not going to take it anymore. God Bless America and Sucker Punch. The film God Bless America centers around a character named Frank, played by Joel Murray. Joel Murray has had a reoccurring role for a number of years on the TV series Mad Men. He's quite good in this film. Frank has been told that he has a brain tumor, an inoperable brain tumor. This is just compounding the fact that he's just lost his job and he's a loner. He's a loner in a world that he detests. He doesn't like the mean-spiritedness of the world. He doesn't understand the crass junk culture of the world. He's going to take himself out, and then he changes his mind. He decides, if I'm leaving this planet, I'm going to start taking other people out with me. While staging his first hit, he just happens to have a young teenage girl named Roxy, played by Tara Lynn Bauer, who happens to stumble upon his actions, and she decides that they should team up together. She has a lot of the same mindset that Frank's character is coming from. She's very uncomfortable with the world. She has a long, long list of people that she would really, really like to see done away with. Frank's attitude is a little bit more on the side of just, I can't understand why everyone is so mean to each other. Well, needless to say, this film by Bobcat Goldthwait is a very, very black satire. It's a very, very stinging satire. I have to admit, I'm a little uncomfortable with the gun culture that was portrayed in the film, and maybe I'm saying that because circa May 2013, while I'm doing this critique of the film, a lot of things have been taking place in the United States. And if one were to take it on a slightly more real level and saying, you know, guns don't solve any problems, well, that's something that I think has to resonate with the times that we live in. It is black satire, and it's biting black satire, and it comes from a very, very left-wing perspective, no doubt about that. If you're a follower and believer in the Tea Party, if you're a reality TV show fan, you won't like what's being depicted in this film and the satirization of it. If you've ever read some of the work of like Neil Postman, and particularly his book Amusing Ourselves to Death, I think you'll know exactly where Bobcat Goldthwait is coming from with this film, and I would recommend it in terms of being that stinging black satire. Here's one way I would look at God Bless America. Several years ago, David Cronenberg submitted a film at the Cannes Film Festival in competition called Crash, not to be confused with Paul Haggis's film Crash, which eventually won an Academy Award for Best Motion Picture. Cronenberg's film, which dealt with people who got off sexually by getting involved in car crashes, also won an award. It won an award cited by the jury for having had the audacity for just making that kind of a film. And I think that Bobcat Goldthwait gets my award for having had the audacity for making a film like God Bless America. After watching the destruction of her family before her eyes, Baby Doll, the character played by Emily Browning, is taken away to a mental institution by her evil stepfather. At the institution, she goes into a sort of semi-hallucinogenic world in which she imagines she's actually in a kind of brothel dance hall. And from there, she springs into a totally hallucinogenic world in which she encounters a wise one played by screen veteran Scott Glenn, who describes to her different manners of things that she can acquire in order to, as he puts it, gain her total freedom. I have to clarify that the version of Sucker Punch that I'm going to be referring to is the standard version that was initially released, and not the so-called director's extended version, which I understand has some elaborations in it, particularly in regards vis-a-vis to the John Hamm High Roller character and his relationship to the Emily Browning baby doll character. Having said that, the question I then have to ask myself is, based upon the standard, shall we call it, original version of Sucker Punch that I saw, would I be inspired to go and watch the director's cut? Well, as far as the standard version is concerned, I will say the last 28 minutes or so, last quarter of the film, are very involving. I found myself really, really dramatically caught up and very, very interested in the plight of the characters who were remaining in the film. Unfortunately, to get to that last quarter, you have to sit through the first 3 quarters, and that was excruciating. It seemed like the director, Zack Ryder, was trying to say, I'm going to grab people at the end here dramatically and make a really profound impact. Meanwhile, I'll keep them very, very interested in having this amazing visual CGI spectacular taking place in front of them. All these scenes that take place in the truly hallucinatory world that the character, a baby doll, goes into. No. It was very, very boring, very, very snoring. Also, by way of disclosure, I will admit I was watching it on DVD, not on a big screen, not in 3D, not in a big, huge, but this is the impression that I'm getting from this kind of a viewing. But regardless of that, it just seemed to me that it was such a lazy approach in order to convey the story. And you can sort of understand, Zack Ryder has now been hired by Christopher Nolan to do the Man of Steel Superman reboot, and obviously Chris Nolan is sitting around saying, hey, Zack Ryder, you must have seen Inception. I get it, you know, levels of storytelling, levels of consciousness and existence. Well, I hope that's not the real reason why Christopher Nolan tagged Zack Ryder for the Man of Steel reboot.